In this demonstration, we will install Microsoft Windows Server 2022 evaluation copy on Oracle VirtualBox Type 2 Hypervisor. The first step you need to do is to obtain a copy of the Windows Server 2022 ISO file. To do that, you need to go to the Microsoft Evaluation Center and follow the links to download the ISO file. I will leave a link in the description for the Microsoft Evaluation Center so that you can click on that to download a copy of that file. Once you have obtained a copy of the Windows Server 2022 ISO file, open your Oracle VM VirtualBox Manager. Go to the top left-hand corner, drop-down menu called Machine, and under Machine drop-down menu, select New. On this window, under Create Virtual Machine, you can name your virtual machine to whatever you like. So I'm going to call it Win Server 2022. And then you can select the location in which the virtual machine files will be saved. Make sure whatever the location you pick here is suitable for your virtual machine, so there is enough space in that hard drive to install the Windows Server 2022. Then under the type of the machine, select Microsoft Windows, and under version, if you open the drop down menu, you will notice that you don't have the option for Windows Server 2022. So there is no such thing called Windows Server 2022, right? So if you go to Microsoft Windows and if you go to this drop down menu, there is no such thing called Windows Server 2022. So what do you do? So in this situation, what we're gonna do is we're gonna pick the Windows 2019 64-bit, because Windows 2019 64-bit is compatible for that Windows Server 2022 as well. Because currently the Oracle VM VirtualBox Manager do not list the Windows Server 2022. So we don't have the Windows 2022. So instead we're gonna pick the Windows 2019 64-bit and we're gonna click Next. And for the memory size, depending on how much memory you have on your device, you can select a memory type that is suitable for your needs. Just make sure that you satisfy at least the minimum requirement of your Windows Server 2022 operating system. So I'm just going to put about 8 GB, about 10 GB of memory because I have enough memory on my host machine, right? So make sure that you don't exhaust your memory on your host machine when you select this, and then click Next. And I'm gonna choose the hard drive type as the create a virtual hard disk now, because I will be creating a brand new hard disk. And I'm gonna select Create. And they're gonna ask you what type of hard disk type I would like to get. So I'm just gonna go with the VirtualBox disk image. Click Next. And next screen, they're gonna ask you whether the storage should be thin prevision or thick prevision. So I'm gonna go with the thin prevision, dynamically allocated one. What is thin prevision? What is thick prevision? I have already described on one of my previous videos. So I'm just going to go with the thin prevision. What it's going to do is basically it's only going to allocate enough hard drive space to load the operating system, but not the entire hard drive space that we have going to be allocating for this particular virtual machine. And I'm going to click Next. And for the allocation size, I'm going to make this into 60 GB just because I have enough space. You can go with 50 GB as well. That would be enough for run Windows Server 2022. And I'm going to select and I'm going to click Create. So now I have created a virtual machine here. If I turn this virtual machine on, what's going to happen is it's going to give you a black screen and there are not going to be any operating system installed there. What we need to do now is to point the ISO file or mount the ISO file to this virtual machine. To do that, select the virtual machine and click Start. And once the window pops up here, we will go into Devices. Under Optical Drives, select Choose a Disk File. And in here, you can navigate to the place where you have downloaded the ISO file and select the Windows Server 2022 ISO file and click Open. So now you have selected that drive and selected that ISO file. You need to reboot this virtual machine so it will boot from that ISO file. To do that, you go to Machine and then you're going to select the option called Reset, which is basically a reboot. And once you do that, you'll get a pop-up and you're going to say Reset, and that will make the machine boot from that ISO file. And now you can go ahead and install the Windows Server 2022 by just following the instructions on the screen. So for me, I will be selecting English United States, and my keyboard going to be the English US as well. I'm going to click Next. I'm going to select Install Now. And I will be selecting the Windows Server 2022 Standard Edition this time with the desktop experience. As I mentioned before on my previous videos, the versions that doesn't have the desktop experience basically give you a terminal, but it does not have the capability to show you the GUI. So instead of having start menu or the Windows menu and everything, you're gonna end up with just having terminals. And I'm gonna click Next for the desktop edition, and I'm gonna say, yeah, I accept the the terms and conditions from Microsoft. And because we are installing for the first time, again, I'm gonna select Custom Install from Scratch, and I'm gonna select the hard drive that I have, and I'm gonna create a new partition, and then follow the instructions on the screen to just simply install the Windows Server 2022 on VirtualBox from Oracle. The Oracle VM VirtualBox Manager is a free hypervisor. So if you are interested in how to download it, I can also make a quick video on that, but it's very easy. You just go to Google and type Oracle VM VirtualBox Manager download, and then the first link you see is the one that you need to go in there and then download the version that you like to have. The Oracle VM VirtualBox not only free, but it also works with both Windows and Linux environment. So I would recommend that if you don't have a copy of the VMware Workstation Pro, which is basically a paid version, to go ahead and download Oracle VM VirtualBox Manager. And that's everything for this video. And until next time, good luck with your exams and have a nice day.